Welcome back. Now for your 5-day weather forecast, we go outside to Sarah Jacob.
Hi guys, we are seeing a bit of a rain-snow mix today, but we are staying above zero during the day. Now let's take a look at your 5-day weather forecast. Today we're going up to a high of 3 and a low of -1, with a rain-snow mix continuing throughout the day and overnight into Saturday. Saturday will see a high of 5 and a low of -1 with mixed precipitation. Sunday will have a high of 0 and a low of -6, and the rain will stop. Back to school and work Monday and the beginning of March break for many high school and elementary school students will be seeing a high of 0 and a low of -9. Tuesday will have a high of 5 and a low of -6, but please do dress accordingly for that temperature change. And that's your 5-day weather forecast. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Sarah. Now turning to national news. The federal government is standing behind their original numbers and say they will pay up for their state-of-the-art F-35 fighter jets. The Conservatives are refuting Thursday's report by Parliamentary Budget Officer Kevin Page, which claims the cost will be $29.3 billion over 30 years, twice as much as the $16 billion over 20 years Peter MacKay and the Department of National Defense had calculated. Stephen Harper has also responded to the contempt findings by House Speaker Peter Milliken earlier this week, saying, "You win some, you lose some." Harper also said he will comply with the rulings and Parliament should move on.
New job creation is falling short of expectations, but unemployment rates have remained stable since last month. 25,000 jobs were expected to be created in February, but numbers came in at just over a disappointing 15,000. The unemployment rate in Canada is at 7.8%. There had been high expectations for the economy in February, especially after almost 70,000 new jobs were created in January. February's economic numbers were at their worst in 3 months.
The Bank of Canada is switching to plastic money, beginning with plastic $100 bills to be introduced in November. The Bank of Canada says the polymer bills will be more secure against counterfeiting. A $50 note will be introduced in March of next year, followed by the $20, $10, and $5 bills by the end of 2013.
Turning now to international news, Gaddafi loyalists have launched land, sea, and air attacks on Libyan rebels to reclaim the key oil port of Ras Lanuf. The location has provided Libyan rebels some protection from bombardment as pro-Gaddafi troops were forced to pull back for fear of exploding the valuable oil facility. Oil exports from Libya have already plummeted due to European Union and U.S. sanctions. Reuters is reporting that no matter who wins the standoff, the oil market will be denied hundreds of millions of barrels, reshaping the flow of oil across the world.
And now with your sports news, here's Tom Yanni.
The Humber Hawks opened the CCAA tournament with mixed results. The women kicked off their tournament with a 3-1 loss to Mount Royal. Meanwhile, the men won their opening game, sweeping Red Deer 3-0. Both teams play again today, with the men taking on the University of British Columbia at 6 p.m. and the women play Mount Allison at noon. In pro sports, the Leafs have been teasing their fans with a push for the final playoff spot. Last night they played the Eastern Conference leading Philadelphia Flyers, but missed out on a crucial 2 points, losing 3-2. The Flyers took a 3-1 lead into the third and held on for victory. Brian Boucher made 27 saves for the Flyers. Leafs got goals from Mikhail Grabowski and Joffrey Lupul, but the team has lost 3 straight and now sits 6 points out of the playoffs. Their next game is on Saturday against the team they are trying to catch, the Buffalo Sabres. It's a must-win game for the Buds if they have any hopes of making the playoffs. Outside of Toronto, 4 other Canadian teams in action, and Buffalo picks up a huge road win. Brad Boyce scored in overtime for the Sabres as they beat Boston 4-3. Senators remain hot since the trade deadline, handing the Panthers a 2-1 loss. Montreal playing against former playoff hero Yaroslav Halak for the first time since trading him this summer. Halak and his Blues beat Montreal 4-1. Predators down the Wild 4-0, and the Flames were blanked on the road in Phoenix 3-0. And finally, Alex Burrows scored the shootout winner for the Vancouver Canucks, who beat the Sharks 5-4. The Raptors are back in action tonight, squaring off against the Indiana Pacers. Raptors are in the midst of a 3-game losing streak, but if you think that's nasty, the Pacers have lost 5 straight games and have only won 3 of their last 10. Raps leading scorer Andrea Bargnani is listed as probable for tonight's game after missing Wednesday's affair with the flu. Finally, the NFL labor dispute is coming down to the wire as the deadline for a new CBA agreement is midnight tonight. The NFL and the Players Association are meeting today in their 17th straight day of mediated negotiations. The major sticking points between the two sides remain rookie-scale contracts, the owner's proposal for an 18-game schedule, and the distribution of the NFL's reported $9 billion in revenue. At this point, inside sources say the likelihood of a lockout is very real. You are now up to date in the world of sports. Back to the newsroom.
Thanks, Tom. After the break, we'll get the latest in entertainment from Trishelle Esposito.
Coming up in entertainment, Gaga hits a new record, and the Genies outshine the Oscars. All this and more after the break.